Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to today's webinar on report favourites and selections in Sage 50 Payroll. My name's Alice, I'm going to be delivering today's webinar and I'm also joined by my colleague Duncan who'll be answering your questions in the Q&A throughout the session as well. So three main sections of the webinar today. We've got report favourites, report selections and the quiz as well to end things. So in report favourites, we're going to take a look at pre-update, post-update and historical reports, how to favourite them and some recommended reports from us. We'll then move on to report selections, so what a report selection is and also how to create one. And then at the end, I do have a short quiz, totally optional, but would be great if you could all join in and just test your knowledge that you've learned throughout the session. And then as usual, we will end on some further support available to you all and some remaining time just to keep answering any questions in the Q&A. So let's get started with that first section then, which is all about report favourites. I do want to start with a little bit about each type of report because they are run at different points in your payroll, and which type you use, it just depends on what you're wanting to report on. So first of all, pre-update reports. These are going to provide information about the current unupdated pay run, meaning you can check things over prior to updating the records. They're also going to give you the opportunity to produce any pay slips that you might need for your employees and payment summary reports as well. We've then got post-update reports. So these are going to provide information about already updated pay periods in the tax year, but also things like year-end information, period-end information, legislation and company information too. So once you've finished running payroll for a particular pay period, you'd probably run a few post-update reports just to keep for your records, for example. And then lastly, historical reports. These are going to be for all updated pay periods in Sage 50 Payroll, and this also includes previous tax years as well. So when you're running these, it will ask you to specify a date range to run the reports for. So there's no need to change your process date in order to access that information. The historical reports just makes it nice and easy to get what you need. So let's actually just go straight to payroll. I do want to show you where to find these different reports before we go into the recommended ones. So I'm just in payroll now. And first of all, I'd like to show you where to find the pre-update reports. And most commonly, these are found in the payroll tasks. You'll see it's got its own step there after you've entered the payments, but before you update the records. But then for those of you who are process map users, if we just go to view, change view and process map, you'll see it does also have its own step on there. So whichever you would prefer, but again, it's going to be after you've entered the payments and before you update the records. So post-update reports, these are going to be found using this reports icon above the employee list. And a little tip from me, if for whatever reason you can't see this toolbar and you can't see these icons, if you go to view and toolbar, that's just going to toggle this on and off for you. So make sure you can see it and then click the reports icon to take you to the post-update reports. So remember, these are going to be for already updated pay periods, company information, legislation, etc. And then last but not least, you can run historical reports from the payroll link section. We can see we've got an option there for printing historical reports. But you can also run these from company, and there's a task there called historical data. So both of those options will take you to the same place, and I will demonstrate this a little bit later on. So it's all well and good knowing where to run these reports from, but if you aren't sure which reports to run, I am going to go over some recommendations from us, and we're going to start with pre-update reports. So again, to run the pre-update reports, it's going to be payroll and then just the pre-update reports task, or from the process map. And there are 4 reports that I would recommend and like to show you today. These are going to be the payment summary part 1 and 2. Pay slips, of course, and the update records check report 2. And these 4 reports are going to give you a really good summary of what's going on and just allow you to check things over before you update your pay run. So let's go and take a look at these 4 reports in the programme. So I'm back in Payroll. I'm just going to use the swap icon to highlight all of my employees. I've already set my process date to my next pay date, which is the 31st of January, and I have already entered the payments too. So all I'm going to do is go ahead and click Pre-Update Reports. There we go. So this is the window that comes up. We've got the different sections on the left with all of the different reports in, and then of course the main part of the screen here. I'm currently in the Favourites section, and as you can see, I've got no favourites just yet. So let's go ahead and find these reports. I'll show you what they look like, and we'll get them favorited. So payment summary reports, first of all, these are going to be found in the summary section. This is in alphabetical order, so they will just be near the bottom. And you can see lots of options in here. So payment summary part 1 and part 2 are the ones that I'm going to need. I would actually recommend the landscape layout. I just prefer that one, but of course you do have the option of portrait too. So whichever that you would prefer, it will give you the same information. So I've got payment summary part 1 landscape and part 2 landscape. To preview this report, I'm just going to either double click or use this preview icon on the right hand side. And let's take a look at what that looks like. So it's going to be a detailed breakdown of the pay for the current period, and it's going to go from the gross pay all the way across to the net pay. And it is going to include totals per payment period as well. This window will come up for you just with some criteria values. You can change these, but for these reports, I just normally leave this as default. I'll click OK, and the report loads up for us. I'll make that a little bit bigger. So I've got all of my employees listed on the left-hand side, and it's got all of the kind of current period there going from the total gross all the way across and ending with their net pay. We've got information on tax, national insurance contributions, employee pension, and then we've also got statutory payments too. So notice it's got statutory sick pay and then just a column for parental payments. I've got an employee on maternity pay there, which we can see the value for, as well as pre and post tax deductions and more as well. So you do get a really great understanding of exactly what's going on with your employees' wages this period. And then like all reports, you do have the options to print and export in the top left if you wish, just to kind of save for your own records and save a copy of it. And I'm just going to close this report. So that was the payment summary part 1 landscape. This is a report that I run regularly, so I'm actually going to add this to my favourites. To do this, I just need to click this star. You'll see it turns gold. And if I just pop back to the favourites section, that's now there. So it's easy to find in the future, and I can just quickly run that from there. So it is nice and easy there to just favourite the reports. Let's also go and find that payment summary part 2. Again, that's just in the summary section. Few options below the part 1. So let's preview this one. Again, this is going to show a nice detailed breakdown, but a little bit different information this time. So this time, it's going to be all of the information about the employee and employer national insurance contributions for the current period. We've got totals per payment period as well, but we can see the NIable earnings, contributions and any rebates, as well as the employer pension, and a bit more information, such as the national insurance category on the right. So again, same options in the left to print or export, but since I run this regularly, it's another one that I would like to favourite. So next report I would like to show you is pay slips. There are definitely too many choices to go through individually for this, but this is where you'll find them. So we've got the pay slip section, but you'll see you've got options for dot matrix, email or laser layouts. Email and laser are definitely the most kind of common layouts there. I like to use the laser 2 per A4 sheet, just a nice kind of simple clear pay slip layout. And let me show you what this looks like. Now, if, like me, you've got some employees set up for the online services as well, you will get this message. If you do want them to also be included in this report, just click yes. But if not, just click no, and it won't include them. But here it is, just the kind of standard laser layout there. 2 per A4 sheet, just nice and simple. Perfect for what I need. So I'll close this and favourite that as well. Now you can see even more options in here, so if you would prefer the payslips with the address, comments or things like loan information on, you do have those options there. And at the bottom, a few layers of security payslips as well. So these are going to be designed for like self-seal stationery if your company uses that. And one last pre-update report that I would like to show you is the update records check report. So this is one that I would recommend running just to kind of double check your employees' pay prior to updating the records. And again, that's in the summary section. And I believe this is the very last one in the list. Yep. So I'll preview this one. And I'll just make that a little bit bigger. But again, a summary of the kind of main elements of the employees' pay for the current period. So you've got the grand totals there at the bottom, but you've got information on total gross, tax paid, net pay, etc. So really handy report there. And it is another one that I'm going to favourite. So now that I've showed you those four, if we go back to the favourite section, I can see they're nice and clearly there. So next time I come to run payroll and I want to run those pre-update reports, instead of kind of searching through the different sections or trying to find them, I can just go to favourites and run them straight from there. So just a reminder of those four reports on the screen there. Nice and easy to favourite them as well, of course, just click that star to the left of them. Now moving on to post-update reports too. You can run these by going to just the reports icon above the employee list. And these reports are going to give information on already updated payment periods in the tax year, company information, legislation, etc. I've got 3 recommended reports here. These are going to be the payment summary history reports, part 1 and 2. These ones are going to be by date, as well as the P32 report as well, and that's going to be at each month end. So I'll show you these, kind of what they're for, and a bit more information about them too. So just back to payroll, and again, above my employee list, I'm going to click on reports to find the post-update reports. And I've actually already got those 3 reports favorited. So I've got the payment summary history, part 1 and 2, and the form P32. So the payment summary history, these reports are generally used to kind of reconcile against the payment summary reports that we ran in the pre-update reports. But this time they're going to be found in the employee section. And again, this is alphabetical. So if you scroll down to P, and we can see I've already got those favorited, so they're nice and easy to see. So this time, instead of having landscape or portrait, you do actually have by date or by employee. It really is preference for this. Both of the options do, of course, provide great summaries to reconcile your reports. I just prefer the by date layout. So if we take a look at this one and preview it, this time it will come up with criteria. I'm just going to leave it as it is. That's the whole tax year, and click OK. So as we can see, very, very similar to the pre-update report. Same layout, still showing the kind of same information there. From the gross pay on the left all the way across to the net pay. Now, since I left the criteria as the whole tax year as well, if we scroll down, I actually have a summary there for each process date so far in the tax year. So just make sure if you only want the current period, just change that criteria when you kind of run the report to show the periods that you want to report for. And same with part 2 as well, if I just show you that one. Still going to have a criteria. I'm going to leave that as the whole tax year. And as you can see, I've got the summary, but for the whole tax year, just because of that criteria. But we can still see it shows all of that information about the national insurance contributions, rebates, employee pension, etc. So that's the Summary history, part 1 and 2, again, they're used to reconcile against those pre-update reports, just in case there have been any changes since the pre-update report stage, and there shouldn't be, for example. But third recommendation for post-update reports is going to be the P32. Now, you would typically run this report at month end, and it's going to be a nice quick way to check how much tax and national insurance is due to pay to HMRC. And it will also show a breakdown of the amount that you owe, so what exactly it's made up of. Since it is a month-end report, period end, it is going to be in that period end section. And I can nice and clearly see it since it's already favorited, and it's called Form P32, Employer Payment Record. So let me preview this one too. This one also has a criteria option which comes up, and you're basically going to tell payroll which tax month you want to run it for. Now, I've run it for every tax month so far up until December. I still do need to run December's. Let's just have a look at that one. So I'll change it to run for tax month 9 to 9, which is December, and that's going to run it for that. With the P32, it does run tax month to tax month, for example, month 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, etc. Or at year end, maybe you want to run the full tax year, so you could change it to months 1 and 12. But I'll leave it for December and click OK. And we'll just make that a little bit bigger. Great. So yeah, the P32, it does show things like employment allowance as well. I don't have any on this company. Any parental payments that you've recovered, apprenticeship levy amounts too. And on line 21, it will show a total of the amount due to HMRC. So this is kind of the breakdown of what's due with that total there on line 21. And a little tip from me, if you do need to run the P32 for a previous tax year, you are able to. All you'll need to do is change your process date to the relevant tax year and then run the P32 in the same way that I've just shown you there. And if I just close that, not only can you find it from the post-update reports, but from the payroll links section, you do also have the option there just to quickly run the P32. And it'll come up with that criteria and then, of course, the same report. So they were the 3 post-update reports that we'd recommend. And lastly, I do want to touch on historical reports. So these are going to be found in the payroll link section and also the company tasks. And these reports can be run for any updated payment period, even in previous tax years. And this time it doesn't require you to change your process date either, so even more convenient. But in these reports, you've got lots of different sections to choose from. As you can see in that screenshot on the right-hand side, you've got information on attachments, deductions, nominal link, pay slips, etc. So lots of information there. Now with this, pay slips is probably the most helpful thing in the historical reports. You might have employees requesting pay slips from last year or the year before, for example. So it just makes it nice and quick to get these without having to kind of restore a backup or overcomplicate things to get that historical data. So let's go back to payroll for the last time in this section, and I will just show you how to run these. So either from the payroll link section, you've got printing historical reports, or if you go to company, one of the tasks you'll see is called historical data. But either way, you're going to end up with this criteria window where you're going to enter the date range that you would like to run the reports for. So if you needed data from last tax year or the year before, this is where you would enter those dates. And it could even span multiple years depending on what you need. In this example, I am just going to do last tax year. So we'll do 6th of April 23 to the 5th of April 24. You can choose department or cost centres too if you need to, and then just click OK. So exact same layout as the other report windows. You've got the different sections on the left, and then of course the main section and the report options on the right hand side too. Lots of choice in here, but as I said, probably the most common historical reports are going to be the pay slips. You do have the same options as you had in the pre-update reports, so you've got dot matrix, email or laser, I could actually produce the exact same pay slips there, the laser 2 per A4 sheet. So this is a great feature because actually once you've updated the payment period, normally you can't go back into the pre-update reports. So if you did forget to do the pay slips or you needed them from a previous period, rest assured you are able to get it for one employee or multiple employees in here. And again, you just favourite them in exactly the same way. And if we just take a quick look, we can see it's going to be exactly the same layout as we had before. So lots more reports in here. I'm sure you understand we don't have time to go through every single one. Definitely too many reports in Sage 50 Payroll to do that, but this is where you'll find those historical reports. But that being said, I would like to make you aware of some kind of extra resources when it comes to finding the reports that you need, which are going to be the Report Finder tool and of course the Advanced Report Library too. So both of these can be found from the Help Centre, so sage.co.uk/help. Just search for the names. I've also linked them on the slide here, so you can just quickly get to them. But a little bit about them. So the Report Finder tool, this is going to help you find the report that you need. So you can type in the name of a report to find out where it is, or you can also search keywords, and the tool's going to kind of show reports available matching those keywords. So let's say you were looking for a report on attachment of earnings, for example. If you typed in that, a list of reports would come up which would show information on attachment of earnings orders. It'll show you where to find the reports, what section they're in, and a description of them too. So a really handy resource if you're not exactly sure which report to use or where to find it. There's also going to be the Advanced Report Library. So this is going to be loads more free reports available for payroll, completely free. You've got pre-update and post-update options in there. But there's kind of lists of the pre-update and post-update reports available, how to download them to your program, and how to use them as well. So just follow that link if you are curious. But that was report favourites, some recommended reports, and a few further resources as well. It's now time to move on to the next section of the webinar, which is going to be all about report selections. And again, these are available for both pre-update and post-update reports. But a report selection allows you to run multiple reports at once, and it allows you to fully customize the selection too. So if you've got a set amount of, say, 5 reports that you run every period, to save you from having to manually run them one at a time, you could actually set up a report selection with those 5 reports and produce them all in one batch. So it is going to be a massive time saver for you. You can also print or export the reports as either one file or as separate reports too. It just depends on your preference. Now it does have its own section in the reports window as well, and I would like to show you where that is, and we'll actually go ahead and create a report selection too. So I'll turn my camera off and we will go back to payroll. So first of all, I do want to make sure that my employees are highlighted. And if I go back to the payroll tasks, I'll click on pre-update reports. And on the left, we'll see we do have a section for report selections. It's currently blank, just as I don't have any set up just yet, but I am going to set one up in here. So my report selection, it's going to include those 4 recommended pre-update reports from earlier. So if I, first of all, just make sure I've clicked onto the report selection section, and then I'm going to go ahead and click New in the top left. And this window is where you're going to create that selection. So first of all, give it a name. So whatever you want this selection to be called. I'm just going to go with something generic. So general monthly pre-update reports, that type of thing. And if you want a description as well, so I could just say regular monthly reports, whatever you need to kind of differentiate it from others that you might be making. And once you've given a name and a description, it's just going to be a case of selecting the reports that you would like in this selection. So you'll see in here we do have the same sections as we do in the pre-update reports, and it'll be the same for post-update as well. So I know exactly where to find these reports that I need. First of all, let's go and find those payment summaries. So if I go in the summary section and then just scroll down, here we go, I've got payment summary part 1 landscape and part 2. So it's going to be a case of selecting these one at a time and just clicking that add button to move them across into the selection. And I'll just do the same with part 2. That's the payment summaries. From this section, I also need the update records check report. And lastly, it'll just be the laser pay slips as well. So if I go to the laser section, just select that layout there and click add. Now, just notice as well, if you keep an eye on the pay slips over here as I add it, although it is the last report that I've added, it's actually going to go to the top of the selection. And that's just because this report selection is always going to be in alphabetical order. So even if you've added them in a particular order, it will kind of rearrange itself here to be in alphabetical order. And let's say you've accidentally clicked add twice and you've accidentally added a report that you don't want in here. All you need to do is select it and click remove to move it back across. And then once you've added the reports that you'd like in here and you've got them all on the right hand side, you're going to click save and then close. And if I just give it a sec to produce that, there we go. We've now got a report selection there and it's ready to be used. So I'm going to go ahead and preview this in exactly the same way as I would with a normal report. So I can either double click or click the preview icon. And I'll just let that load up. Depending on the reports that you've got in here as well, of course, it'll come up with the criteria, but I'll just leave that as default and click OK. And here is the report selection. So it does show the first report that is in the selection, which is going to be the pay slips. But if you notice along the top, I've actually got a different tab for each report in the selection. So I can easily change it up and see, the different reports in here. So this is going to be such a great way of saving time if you do have those reports that you consistently run. Instead of manually running, 5, 10 reports one by one, you can just add them to a selection and do them all in one batch. Little difference as well with the report selections are actually the options in the top left. So instead of just printing or exporting, you've actually got different options. So you can print the current report that we're looking at, which will be the pay slips. You could print all of the reports as a single job or all of them as individual jobs. Just depends on what you'd like. And same with export as well. You can either export and save the current report that we're looking at, or all of them as kind of one file. So you could save them all as one file and, call it maybe like monthly reports, January 2025, for example, and you've got one file with them all in. So totally preference, but you can just keep record of them as you wish. So I'll just close that down. You'll also notice you can favourite the report selection. So although it is nice and easy to find in there, if I click favourite, I've also got it in that section there. If I need to edit it, maybe I'd like to add another report to it, just select it and click edit. Or if I want to get rid of it, you do have the option, of course, deleting it as well. So lots of different options there with the report selections. So remember, a report selection, you can create these for both pre and post update reports. You'll do that in exactly the same way. And just a recap of how we did that. So you'll either go to pre-update or post-update reports. You'll click on the reports selection section, that's a tongue twister, and you will click new in the top left. You'll then get this window come up, so you'll give it a name and a description. You'll select the reports that you would like to add into the selection, and you'll just click add and move them across one at a time. And then once you've got the reports that you would like in that selection, you're just going to click save and close as well. And again, you'll just preview that in exactly the same way as normal. So just remember, I have linked lots of helpful articles throughout the slides as well. So if you do download the handout, you do have those links just going straight to those help articles for a bit more information on each of the slides. But that does bring us to the end of the main webinar content. We've got one last section to go, which is our quiz, just to test your knowledge. So it's just a nice short quiz. I've got 3 questions for you all this morning. Totally optional, but it would be great if you all gave it a go. So how it works is I'm going to launch a poll on your screens. You'll have around a minute or so to answer each question. So select your answer and submit that to us. After that minute, I'm going to reveal what you all thought, and then of course the correct answer, before moving on to the next question. So what I'll do, I'll launch question 1 for you. And again, you'll have around a minute or so to answer that. So it should be coming on your screens now. So question number 1 is going to be, where do you find historical reports? And you do have the option to select multiple answers. So a little hint, more than one of these is correct. So where do you find historical reports? Is it in company and historical data? Is it in payroll and pre-update reports? Or is it in the payroll link section? So choose all that apply. Where do you find historical reports? Great, I can see those answers coming in now. Another 20 seconds or so. So where do you find them? Is it in company and historical data, payroll and pre-update reports, or the payroll links section? Fabulous. I'll just close that down and share those results as well. So 98% of you said in company and historical data, 5% in payroll and pre-update reports, and 74% in the payroll links section. So yeah, the ones with the most people answering there, those are correct. So you can find it in both company and historical data and of course the payroll links section. 2 options there, but it will bring you to the same place. That middle answer there, that's of course where you'll find the pre-update reports instead. So well done to those of you who got that correct. Okay, moving on to question 2. That should be coming on your screen any moment now. So question number 2 is going to be, can you choose the order of reports in a report selection? So can you choose the order of reports in a report selection? Is it yes, you can add them in the order that you'd like? Or is it no, they're always going to be in alphabetical order? So can you choose the order of reports in a report selection? Is it yes, you can add them in the order that you'd like? Or is it no, they're always going to be in alphabetical order? Leave that open a little bit longer. It looks like most of you have got that correct, but I will reveal that shortly. Great, I'll close that down and share those results. So well done to 85% of you who said no, they're always going to be in alphabetical order. So remember when I was adding those reports to the selection, although I added the pay slips last, they did go at the top of the list just purely because of alphabetical order. So well done to 85% of you. Great, and then last question of the quiz before I give you some time to kind of answer some questions, ask some more questions, and then of course go through the further support. So question number 3, coming your way now, is going to be choose the correct description of pre-update reports. So choose the correct description of pre-update reports. Are they reports for the current payment period? Or are they reports for an already updated payment period? So choose the correct description of pre-update reports. Are they for the current payment period? Or are they for already updated payment periods? Great, I can see most of you have voted. I'll leave it open, about 10 more seconds. Fab, and I'll just close that down now and share those results. So 95% of you have said their reports for the current payment period, and 5% of you have said the reports for an already updated payment period. So well done to the 95% of you. You did get that correct. So yeah, pre-update reports are for the current unupdated pay run. But the reports for an already updated payment period, these could be the post-update reports, or they could also be the historical reports too. So they're going to be for all periods that have been updated in Sage 50 Payroll, even like past tax years and things too. But massive well done to those of you who got those correct, and thank you for your participation in that too. Always just nice to end on a little bit of fun after the webinar. So that does bring us to the end of the main webinar content this morning. We do still have some time to go through some further support, and don't forget, if you do still have any questions, Duncan's still around answering those in the Q&A, so still about 5 minutes or so to get those in there. But let's start with our upcoming webinars. So we've got our next HR advice webinar coming up. That's next week. So I will be joined by some special guests from Advisor Plus, and we'll be going through onboarding success, so ensuring you're compliant and supporting your employees' rights from day one. That's going to be on the 15th of Jan at 2 p.m. So some really, really great advice. They are experts in what they do. So I always learn a lot in these sessions. It'd be really great if you came along to that too. For Sage 50 Payroll, we've got the HMRC Secure Mailbox session next week, so Duncan will be taking you through that, as well as a new badge series coming up. So statutory payments, we're going to be covering things from statutory sick pay, maternity pay, paternity pay. We've also got a statutory payments quiz too, so do keep your eyes peeled for more information on that coming soon. That will be starting on the 21st of Jan. And for Sage HR, we do have our leave management module showcase webinar. We've got another 2 dates for that coming up, where me and Duncan will be kind of showing you the module on leave management and what exactly that does. So sage.co.uk/webinars for all of those. You can sign up and kind of check what they're all about as well. We've also got the help centre as too, so that's sage.co.uk/help. You can search the knowledge base here. You can access support guides, demonstration videos, recordings of our webinars too, and we do have a webinar section. And should you need to, you will be able to contact the experts too. So all of the help articles that I've linked on the slides today have come from the help centre. It is a really, really handy resource. And lastly, Sage University as well, so that's sageu.com. Here you can set up a free account and you can access e-learning, bite-sized learning, as well as earning product certification as well. So if you do want to expand your knowledge on Sage 50 Payroll, or you want to kind of learn about any other Sage products, absolutely feel free to do so. But that has brought us to the end of our webinar on report favourites and selections. If you are leaving us now, remember you can download the handout still until we end the session. They'll include all of the slides from the presentation today. And feel free as well to copy and paste any of the Q&A if you found any of those particularly helpful and you want to keep them for future reference. And one last ask from me, there will be a short survey that you'll get as you exit the webinar. So if you do have just a minute to fill that out, we would really, really appreciate that. The feedback does go a long way. We do read all of the comments that you leave us and take on all of the feedback as well. And we just try to make these webinars the best that they can be. So thank you in advance for that. But that is it for reports, favourites and selections. I can still see there's a couple of questions coming in on the Q&A, so if you've got any last minute ones, get them in now. But I am actually going to go on mute just for a few moments to help Duncan with those last questions. And yeah, in a few minutes I'll be back to say goodbye and kind of wrap things up. So yeah, I'll be on mute for a few moments and I will be back. Hello everyone, that's just me back again. Thank you so much for all of those questions throughout the session, and a massive thank you to Duncan as well for answering those throughout too. Hopefully you found those answers useful. Don't forget to copy and paste any that you'd like. Keep an eye on your emails as well for a recording of the webinar coming through. You can re-watch that as many times as you need to, including all of the demonstrations. But yeah, that is the end of the webinar. So hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day and would love to see you on another webinar very soon. So on behalf of me and Duncan, we will see you next time. Goodbye for now.